Russia's global energy play, Lifeline or a geopolitical masterstroke? Let's find out. Russia is playing chess while the world is playing Russian roulette. As the Hormuz crisis tightens its grip on global energy supply and as the war in Ukraine grinds into its fourth year, Moscow is doing something that looks on the surface like a generosity. Discounted oil to India, a tanker breaking through a blockade to reach Cuba, pressure on Europe to lift sanctions, supply to OPEC plus partners. Is this Russia as a world emergency fuel supplier? Or is this Russia executing the most calculated geopolitical energy play of the decade? We are going to look at the data and let you decide. Welcome back. I'm Jitu. This is Trilema Energy. Let us start with India because this is where the offer became impossible to ignore. On 2nd April, Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Denis Montrov stepped in directly. The pitch scaled up, discounted crude and LNG supplies to India. No conditions, publicly stated, just we can supply more at a better price. Now, the timing is not coincidental. Whispers of an energy slowdown were already circulating in New Delhi. The Vadinar refinery outage, Hormuz uncertainty, supply anxiety was building, and into that anxiety, Russia walks in with a lifeline. From India's perspective, this is tactical rational. Russian crude oil has been India's single biggest import story since 2022. We buy it at a discount to Brent. We refine it, we re-export some of it. Has been frankly an extraordinary arbitrage for Indian refiners. And Russian LNG as a bridge fuel fits perfectly into our all of the energy strategy. While our battery energy storage systems catch up, while our solar built up continues, gas keeps the grid stable and the economy running. Here is the structural reality the data reveals. Russia's discount has been narrowing. Tighter shipping markets, reduced competition among buyers, high gross product worth of Urals crude, all of this has been working in Moscow's favor. In some cargo scenarios, Russian crude has actually traded at a premium to alternatives, which was not possible 2 years back. The era of deep discount is compressing. Now, if India is Russia's biggest commercial play, Cuba is its most political one, I would say. Russian Energy Minister Sergei Tesleyev was direct. A vessel from the Russian Federation broke through the blockade. A second one is now being loaded. We will not leave the Cubans in trouble. That language, broke through blockade, is deliberate. Moscow is framing this is not as a commercial transaction, but as a solidarity, as a geopolitical statement. The facts. As of late March 2026, the Russian tanker Anatoly Kolokodin docked at the port of Matanzas offloading 730,000 barrels of oil. A second tanker is en route. Cuba is an island running on fumes. It is previous lifeline Venezuela, oil supplied under Nicolas Maduro, collapsed after Maduro was captured in US military operation. Now Havana was left exposed. This from Russia is not a charity. Cuba is a strategic asset for Russia diplomatically, symbolically, and in terms of hemispheric positioning. But for Cuba right now, it is a survival. And Moscow stepped in with a Trilema energy. Our motto is energy for all. energy for all. So now we cruised from Asia to the Caribbean. Now let's fly in a double price jet fuel to Europe. Yes, double price jet fuel. In Europe, Viktor Orbán, who is never shy about delivering a message others do not want to hear, Hungary's Prime Minister called in Europe this week to immediately lift sanctions on Russian energy, framing it as an economic self-defense in crisis. A quick comment, a big impact. Orbán knows exactly what he is doing. He is voicing what significant portion of European industries is thinking, but not saying publicly. The Hormuz crisis has raised energy prices across the board. European manufacturers are under immense pressure of survival, and Russian gas, which used to be affordable, predictable, and pipeline delivered, sits right there just behind the sanction walls. So for the EU is holding the line. Brussels is resisting the temptation for now, but pressure is real and it is building. The EU has refused to ease Russian energy sanctions, but the political temperature inside Europe is shifting. Watch this space. This would have something unexpected soon. Let us now look at what all this means for Russia's own economics, because there is where the picture becomes truly extraordinary. Russia is world's third largest oil producer, just behind the United States and Saudi Arabia. Oil and gas revenue fund approximately 1/3 of its national budget. Energy is not Russia's export, it is its fiscal oxygen. The war in Ukraine compressed that oxygen supply. Western sanctions closed off key markets. Russia pivoted to Asia and sold at steep discounts. By early 2026 only, oil and gas revenues in the first 2 months of the year had fallen around $10 billion, a 47% drop compared to the same period in 2025. The Kremlin was reportedly preparing a 10% cut to all non-security spending. State budgets were being stress tested, and then Hormuz happened. Opportunity in grief. The disruption in the strait sent crude prices surging, and higher global crude prices combined with US sanction waivers on Russian oil already at sea floating have transformed Russia's fiscal outlook almost overnight. If this crisis continues for, say, another 6 months, $150 billion, enough to replenish state coffers, enough to fund the war effort without the budget cuts, enough to rebuild Russia's strategic reserves. The US loosened sanctions on Russian oil already in transit, approximately, say, 100 million barrels freed up for a spot sale. That is a significant volume injection into a tight market if we compare to IEA SPR release. And it benefits Russia directly. Meanwhile, Russia's shadow fleet, the alternative tanker network built to circumvent Western prices caps, has proven remarkably resilient. The alternative non-SWIFT payment mechanism rooted through non-Western financial systems have held its position. Russia has maintained both volumes and revenue discipline. But we need to be honest here about the risk, because this is not all upside for Moscow. Ukraine has stepped up its attacks on Russian oil exports. These oil exports infrastructure significantly, and the damage is material. 40%. That is not a minor operational setback. That is a structural constraint on Moscow's ability to capitalize on the very windfall the Hormuz crisis is generating for it. Ukraine strikes heavily damage refineries, causing domestic fuel shortages inside Moscow. So, inside Russia, if I speak about the response, an export ban on petrol, the protect to domestic supply, which means very country which is positioning itself as the world's energy stabilizer is simultaneously rationing fuel at home. So the question we have to ask, can Russia actually fill a meaningful portion of the global energy gap? Or is its own capacity already under threat from within? The answer is based on current data, and that is Russia can compensate at the margin, not at the scale. Russian crude exports actually fell by around 400,000 barrels per day in February. Russia could potentially add up to 10% in production capacity within a year. But the near-term ceiling is real. Russia is eyeing Asian demand, somewhere around 25 million barrels per day across Asia Pacific. But eyeing the demand and supplying it at a scale are very different things. When a 40% of your export infrastructure is under attack. One more dimension before we land this. I just noticed OPEC Plus. Russia is a core OPEC Plus member. It coordinates the production levels with Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states to manage global price floors and ceilings. That coordination is now under significant pressure because Russia's incentive at this time in this crisis is to produce more and earn more, while OPEC's traditional instinct is manage supply to maintain a price band, a price range. The physical market spread dynamics are also shifting. The gap between Ural's crude and the global Brent benchmark has been narrowing since 2023. In some specific grade scenarios, Russian cargo has actually moved at a premium. Russia's high gross product worth oils are in genuine demand now, particularly for the Asian refining complex that is optimized for heavier, higher supply crudes, higher sulfur crudes. Russia has also successfully navigated Western price caps using its shadow fleet and alternative financial rails. Volume have held, revenue have been maintained. The price cap, which was designed to squeeze Moscow, has not achieved its intended effect at a scale. So, is Russia the world's emergency energy supplier? Or is this the most sophisticated geopolitical energy play of the decade? The honest answer, it is both. And Moscow is completely comfortable with that ambiguity. India gets cheaper crude, Cuba gets survival, Europe gets pressure, and Kremlin gets $45 to $150 billion in additional budget revenue opportunity. The shadow fleet gets to operate in continuation, and Russia repositions itself from an isolated sanctioned target to indispensable energy actor. That is not luck. That is strategy. We are working on the sequel to this episode, tracking how this Russian energy play evolve as the Hormuz situation develops. And I'm sure you do not want to miss this. What do you think? Is Russia's oil lifeline a smart geopolitical masterstroke? Or is this West finally handing over Moscow exactly what it needed? Drop your analysis in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear the hard facts on global energy without the comfortable narratives. I am Jeetu and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.